Welcome back, everybody. It is part 2 of the Cannabiz Conversations Podcast with one JP Donohue. Look, if you missed part 1, hit pause. Seriously, hit pause, because like as fun as this conversation is going to be, you have a lot to learn about this man and what is going on here. And we didn't even scratch the surface, really, of the story. It reads like a Hollywood script. So go check out part 1 before you get into part 2. As always, we thank Dustin, Fat Nugs Magazine, for everything that they do. They support the small, mom and pop, equity, legacy, veteran, women-owned, you name it. If you need somewhere for your voice to be heard, you need somewhere for your brand to be seen, there is probably no better place right now than Fat Nugs Magazine. The publication is not only beautiful, but it is also outreach with purpose. It gives a shit, and it has a brand story to tell, and the story is about the people in this industry. So thanks again to them very much. JP, part 2, you want to talk about branding in the cannabis space. And so, I'm going to do my best to stay calm because, look, I've been in the background for a long time, but I've been marketing and I watch data and I understand data, and I love – we talked about the technical SEO posts that make me laugh so hard because, honestly, at the end of the day, I can log into the analytics account and I can tell you in 13 seconds if any of that made any fucking difference. So you can have your long 25-page post, but I can verify it in about under 15 seconds. So Thank you so much for that. JP, when you talk branding, what stands out to you, man? What is it about what's the missing part right now in the cannabis space for branding? And I don't want to hear any complaints about there's nowhere for me to go. LinkedIn is a safe place. You can have a website. There are plenty of places to advertise your brand.
That's bullshit. Look, the short answer to that question is the best marketing strategy invests in your brand. And I'll get back to what I mean by that in a second. I want to share a story that is when this light really clicked on for me. And you got to understand, I come from a creative background, right? I wrote movies and TV in Hollywood for over a decade. In my opinion, his movies are some of the best brands on planet Earth, particularly superheroes. And I pitched quite a few superhero rewrites. They do everything great brands can do. But I have a rubric for branding called the Superhero Questions. I put up a post about it on LinkedIn yesterday. It got a fair amount of attention for the first time, which made me really happy. But where it really clicked for me in the cannabis world, where I really started to get a deep understanding of what I needed to do as a co-founder of Tropicana, I did the licensing work and we were under construction in this like shithole of a butterscotch brown industrial warehouse building on what arguably then was, was a high traffic corner, but kind of a nowhere corner in Santa Ana. And we had jackhammered out a bunch of the floor and we had people like hand digging into the dirt to create room for new plumbing because we had to put bathrooms in and ADA compliance and all this crazy shit. Also run electricity and anyway. And my then partner was in charge of all that. He's a GC. He's really brilliant at all that stuff. So everyone was gone for the day, and there was like this 6-foot pile of dirt in the middle of the floor, and I'm sitting on it looking into this hole. And this hole is like my abyss. Because there are 20 other shops open in Santa Ana already that have been open for 5 years before we got there, right? They reopened licensing for recreational, right? So there's all these medical stores already there. So I know, like, I got to take market share to win. This is not a level playing field, and nobody knows who we are. So I'm sitting on this dirt pile, and I just get hit with this question. Why should someone shop at your dispensary? Why should someone pick you? Out of all the other choices in the space, out of all these other recreational and medicinal shops, the traditional market, traditional delivery, licensed delivery, people can buy weed anywhere.
Anywhere.
Southern anywhere. So why pick you? And the question scared the shit out of me because I didn't have a bunch of reasons at that point in time. I had a license and I had a building. And we were under construction. By the way, never done cannabis retail before in my life. No idea. Never done retail before in my life. So that's never really deterred me from anything. I built greenhouses. I wrote movies. I never let that stop me. And anyway, that question was the genesis of Tropicana. And the reason Tropicana was my answer to that question, we'll walk it back to everything was medically branded. Every dispensary felt like a trip to the dentist's office. Yeah. Why should someone choose us? Because we were going to make cannabis fun again. My conceit was I'm going to make this feel like a Miami Beach day club and an homage to Club Tropicana in Havana, Cuba. I'm going to offer bright colors, sunny dispositions, fun attitude. I'm going to celebrate getting high as a good time. That's going to be my brand story. That's going to be infused in my copy. Cannabis is worth celebrating. Come here. Fun, 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 fun. And we built a brand around that idea. And like I said earlier, it was so different then. Now it seems really obvious, right? There's so many bright, colorful, fun brands. It's like, oh, you really broke new ground. But what we did, yeah, I'm telling you, people came by and said, is this a strip club? Ha, ha, ha. Are you an ice cream store? Ha, ha, ha. When are you going to paint the building? People didn't get it because most people, all they are capable of doing is imitating what has already been done because they think that's how it's supposed to be done. And of course, it's safe when you do that, right? If you don't take a chance and if you just do it the way if you do something new and innovative, if you break the mold, people don't understand it. And if you fail, then you look like a fool. Well, I was willing to look like a fool because I knew we were right. And I knew we were onto something. And I knew we were going to catch lightning in a bottle. And I'll be honest, like for the first year or so, we had a hard time. We couldn't really push over 200 visits. And then I brought in an old friend of mine from jiu-jitsu to do paid media. And then I brought in Matt Sternberg to do SEO. Both those guys started crushing it for us. And then we hit our second 420. And I brought in this great girl, Brittany, to run my event marketing because event marketing was a big thing for us. We threw a 4-day 420 party supported by all the heavy hitting brands because that's another big deal about branding and marketing is dispensaries treat brands like shit. Brands should be your partners. You should be leveraging their marketing reach to grow your audience. You should be lockstep. You should be leaning on them to run specials and help you run deals. I leaned hard into all my heavy hitting brands to sponsor our event marketing and to put deals up. And that was a huge deal in driving traffic. So we threw this 4-day 420 bash that saw 1,000 people a day for 4 days. And when it was over, we saw a 30% bump in traffic that was permanent to work in concert with our paid media campaigns and our SEO campaigns. And that was ultimately the path for us. But the foundation of all of it and what made it all work is we had an amazing brand. Like we created an experience that was worth coming out for. People wanted to know what Tropicana was all about. People wanted to live that Tropicana life. And that was in our copy and in our attitude and in our vibe. It was in our merch and we just ran hard with it.
But JP, it was the point of that is though that it was from tip to tail, right? Like this wasn't something where you walk in and the bud tender's dressed in all black and she's got a shitty attitude and she stands there. You know what I mean? Like people have to understand that if you're going to talk about delivering on something, the key to that though is delivering on it. The reason that your 30% bump that gets you from 200 to 250 plus 260 a day, when that happens because you built up a brand. You build up a reason to come see you. They came and saw you, and you did exactly as you said you were going to do. And I think that's the lost part of all of this marketing. And you talk about the brands, man. Look, as I said, I'm a car kid. We as working at dealerships, you work for the store. It's owned by an individual, but that individual works with the manufacturer, right? So the manufacturer kicks down the money, kicks down rebates on cars, gives salespeople spiffs, gives reason people to look at lease specials, whatever it is, right? It comes from that brand down. People don't leverage the brand relationships in these places very well at all. As a matter of fact, a lot of brands that I know about because bud tenders are active on social. It's not because of the brand, dude. It's not because of that. There's a great kid I follow in Michigan, Michael Peterson, and he just shows.
I follow him too. He's great.
Yeah, it's fucking great, right? Like he's like, this brand does this, and this QR code sucks because you put it back here. But he's talking about the product branding,
breaks down packaging really well too.
Right, but the worst part is and it's not his fault. I say this jokingly, but I don't know where he works. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know where he works.
I don't know either.
You don't know where he works, right? I don't know where he works. And that sucks. It sucks. I wish that his brand, the people he worked for, was taking his content and showing it as educational, right? And like doing something like people just miss the mark on branding, dude.
For sure.
So let me ask you, with the pink building and the ice cream shops and the strip clubs, you know, these jokes come along, but at the end of the day, you stuck by your brand for good or for bad. How did the brand attract employees? I know how it attracted customers, but what did you have a good retention? What did that world look like to you?
And I want to talk, let me back into this with like brand experience, right? So, you know, the ethos was individualism and integrity and fun. And we had a line of people down the street, especially once we grabbed, like I had the best BTs from every shop in Santa Ana calling me to work for us because we created an amazing work environment. Yeah. We had a very hot shop. It was very fun, but we also put, you mentioned this. It's like, I say this all the time in my posts and a lot of shit that I write. Great marketing can't save a brand experience that sucks. Right?
Not all the money in Google's fucking world can save.
Send people to your, you spend the money, send them to your shop. And if you suck, you're not going to see them again. And so and I'll keep it really, really simple. We can get into like all the specific minutia of all the shit that we would train our BTs to do. And it was deep. And we had a home built training program, cannabis knowledge, product knowledge, which is more important than cannabis knowledge because people don't recommend cannabis. They recommend products. So if you can't pass that knowledge through to individual products, I'm going
to pause you here. But inside the dispensary, there is a flow that goes with that, JP. It isn't that the store can just be set up as you wish because you like this in that corner and you like that in that corner. Selling is a flow in retail, man. I learned this from George Zimmer, founder of the Men's Warehouse, one of the most successful brands in the world. I got to work side by side with this dude, travel around, watch this dude operate at a level that would blow most people's minds. And every time you walk into a store, it was always about, remember, follow him through the path. Take them here, take them there, take them there. And each way along the way, we're selling the story. We're selling the brand. So it's about the experience, dude. Your store just can't be your store because you like where shit is. It has to have a flow. Is that the case, or am I way off on cannabis?
No,
retail?
I mean, you're spot on. And one thing I'll talk about first is personnel flow. And the cornerstone of my training program or our training program was this. The thing that I would harp on or stress the most is every single person that walks in the door, you need to greet like an old friend and make them feel like the most important person in the room. And the sentence that I would use to describe that is, people might not always remember what you said or what you did, but they will always remember how you made them feel.
How you treat people will stick with them far longer than anything else.
Look, if you make someone feel special, you have a customer for life.
Agreed.
And one of the best ways to do that, I talk about customer service as a superpower. And I'll give you a little example of that. I want to get back to this. Well, let me go to the flow thing first. So that starts with the security guard in the parking lot, right?
Yep.
You're going to see him on the way in. And he's got a bulletproof vest on, and he's got a sidearm, and it looks scary, and that can be really intimidating. That guy in the parking lot better be one of the most friendly, gregarious people in the building because he has to disarm people of that feeling that this is a dangerous place and this is a dangerous guy. Greet everyone with a smile. Make them feel welcome. That segues to reception. Hello. I walk into so many dispensaries when I was doing my market research, and it's like, no smile, no greeting, hand me a questionnaire that takes me 15 minutes to fill out. Hold on, I'm going to shut my window because I got... So, you want to get people in the shop really, really quickly. You don't want to have them fill out a long questionnaire. Just give me your license. And again, greet them like an old friend. Make them feel special. Pass them on to your bud tender. Same thing. Greet them by name, and it just, and then that goes into product flow. But at the end of the day, we had, most dispensaries, almost every single one didn't accept returns. When we opened, we had a return anything, no questions asked policy. I mean, at the end of the day, the brand would always eat the return. So we weren't really losing money. We were losing a little bit of time, and it was complex to process the return. But that's a customer service superpower.
Superpower,
right?
dude.
Like nobody did
Automatically,
that.
you're different than the guy down the street, JP. In one move, in 1 5-minute, 12-minute times for you transactionally, you have now completely set yourself apart and offered that something that no one else is.
Yeah. And it seems like a small thing, but it's a big thing. And then, of course, we ran into the problem where some people figured it out, so they'd start to abuse it. They'd come in with a cart that was like, 9/10 gone, and they'd want to return it. And you'd be like, okay, so then we just put a note in their file. We'd accept the return. And if they came in 3 days later with another cart that was 9/10, we'd be like, look,
what are the odds, dude? What are the odds?
Yeah. You're bringing it back when it's done. It's like, come on, let's get real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, that's always going to be part of the rule, right? I deal in the rule, not the exception. And people like that to me are the exception. I think overall, at minimum, it's something that goes on brand material that no one else is reading or seeing elsewhere, period.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's, you need to, again, make people feel like the most important person in the room. People remember how you made them feel. But then you have to do some, tangible things. Like another thing we did, we quickly realized that medical cannabis was a very small percentage of our business. And where we were in Santa Ana, we had a lot of hardcore stoners and connoisseurs who really loved high-end concentrate and really loved high-end flower. So we made sure we curated, the best brands in the space. And then we created customer lists of people who bought those brands. So we became a 710 hub. So 710, love them or hate them. One of the things they're great at is growing original cultivars themselves and creating very, very high-end Percy sauce and stuff like that. And they're doing limited drops. Yeah. And it's a great branding statement for them because this is in limited supply. You can't get it everywhere. And when it's gone, and you're not going to see it again for a while. Brilliant on their part. Yeah. So we leveraged that. We cultivated an amazing relationship with 710. We became their number one dispensary in Orange County. We became their hub. So whenever they had these special limited drops, they would give us advance notice. They would give us first dibs. And then we would use our email marketing program. We'd go to our list of high-end concentrate buyers and we'd say, hey, 710's rolling through in 5 days. They've got this, this, and this in very limited qualities. Are you interested? If so, we would reserve it for them. So we were taking care of our high-end customers. Same thing with flower.
It's a pause. This is a pause. This is a pause. Okay, it's a pause because I got to ask. You got to put a year on this for me, JP. When were you doing this?
Oh, shit, man. We launched in, was it 2000, 2014, 2015.
Okay, so 10 years ago.
Yeah, it was a while ago.
Okay. So a decade ago, you were dealing in customer lists, right? I mentioned to you that I live in a prohibition state and I go to other states. And I just talked to two of my friends that live in legal states, and we all had this discussion. None of us ever have had an email or text or any communication from any dispensary in 5 total fucking states between the three of us that have ever, no one has ever talked to us. And I'll tell you something right now. I live 3 hours from the UP. I can be there in 3 hours. And if you email me that one of my favorite brands is there on a drop at a dispensary that I do business with, I would be there. I would go out of my way because I own my own time. I run my own company. So I will be there for that drop. JP, no one has ever outreached to me. How the fuck is this possible? With all the complaining people do about marketing, they can't market. Email is still a place you can market. Why is no one doing it?
Yeah, well, it's an interesting thing. So I would say that it's definitely grabbing. I mean, if you follow LinkedIn, there are a couple of retention specialists that have popped up that are really good. Sandy Bergman, Steve at Tack Firm.
Steve at Tack Firm, man, very cool stuff. He gets me real motivated on the whole conversation. but I can see his frustration because as a consumer, I don't have any outreach. I'm a consumer first here. I don't make any money in this industry. This podcast don't make any money. I'm a consumer first, and I've never had outreach.
I'll take it a step farther. So I'm looking at this right now. It's one of the things I'm noodling on. And not a lot of people know this, but email capture is worth more than a conversion.
Agreed. Always has
Email
been.
capture may be worth as much as 10x more than a one-time sale, right?
Yep.
And one of the problems we have right now with retention and acquisition is they're siloed. You got one group doing acquisition and one group doing retention, and they don't talk. Now, that creates a branding problem and a communication problem, but it also creates false ROI.
Correct.
And improper targeting in terms of acquisition. So acquisition is like laser focused on the conversion, right? So let's say you're running paid and people click on the ad and it's sending you to a landing page. It's trying to make you to get trying to convert you to a purchase. Yeah. What it should be doing is converting you to email capture, because that's a much more high value target. And I don't care if you hit people with that request when they're checking out or whatever, but that's where it should be focused. Over here on the retention side, you've got people publishing ROI, right? That's not real, because retention costs aren't just retention costs. Retention doesn't exist without acquisition. Correct. So real retention ROI has to factor in acquisition costs. But correct, because they're siloed, they don't. So one of the things I'm working on with a couple people in the retention space, Steve and Sandy, and in my work with Deep Roots, is trying to bring retention and acquisition together in a unified effort to maximize marketing efficiency and long-term customer value and to provide real ROI. That's an idea that people, in a lot of ways, like when I talk to people in mature industries, they're like, of course, retention and acquisition need to be.
I mean, here, I was just about to say to you, dude, like, okay, I'm in the car business, so I'm hearing you talk about all these things. So back in 2003, 2004, we had realized that email was like the number one. We had already realized what you had said, right? That it was worth more than the website conversion, than the lead we were going to get, because that lead was going to give us the email. We're great with that. But if we could get emails from our service drive, from people we were just now meeting that maybe didn't buy a car from us, that's where we go. So yeah, we had these signs printed up. Instead of got milk, it was got email. And I put them all over my service drive. But you got to take it a step further. I'm a salesman my whole life. You have to find a way to incentivize people to do what you want them to do, because they work for you. I know people want to think that's enough. It ain't. If you really want to move the needle, you must incentivize the human mind to do more. So we're like, hey guys, top guy for email is going to go out to Ruth Chris. You know what I mean? $100 gift card,
sure,
whatever. Yep. Right?
100% right.
And you get these emails. What do we care? We give away $100 gift card to one guy when for the month they got me 400 email addresses. I couldn't care less.
We do a bunch of we do goodie bags at Trop, because all our BTs love weed and they love new products, and it's really important to have them try everything anyway and test new products and get their feedback. So we'd always get, one of the things, like when we'd onboard a brand, like my rule was, you can't onboard it. We will not onboard a brand unless the brand provides one, brand education to every single BT on the staff, and two, samples for every BT on the staff. Because if you drop that ball and you onboard a new brand and you go to all that trouble and your BTs don't know what it is and they haven't tried it, guess what? It's not going to sell. Okay. It's going to sit in inventory and it's going to be on the shelf, and it's going to be a waste of time and money.
I'm at an Illinois dispensary, JP, okay, and I see my buddy's brand. I'm familiar with his brand. I have helped him with this brand in the past. I see it. So I'm like, oh, okay, and the girl's telling me all about these things she wants me to put on this fucking kiosk, these like weird little items I put on the kiosk, and it pulls up the brand and all that. It was so weird. It was so clunky as a way to go do business. But anyways, I'm doing it. I see my buddy's brand. I'm like, oh, well, there's that brand. She's like, oh, yeah, they're new. I don't know anything about them. And she immediately goes back.
And they're on the show.
Dude, to talking about these other brands. And it just was like, and again, I buy his stuff, whatever. So I was going to get it anyways. But to see that reaction, to know that, was to be like, wow, so this really is just about whatever brand invest. And so I told him, he came unglued. We're like on the phone. He's like, nope, I'm writing an email right now. What the fuck just happened? I'm like, well, hold on. Like maybe it was whatever. But to the point, the training, it all stops short, man. You can't just say you're going to sell weed, JP, and that be enough, bro. It's not enough.
Part of the problem is a lot of these, and I see a lot in California, there's a real arrogance with dispensary owners. And there's this attitude where it's like, well, we've got the shelf space. We're the bottleneck. We don't give a fuck about any of our brands. There's a bunch of pay to play. And dispensaries don't get out in front. And what they don't realize is brands matter and brands mean something and brands have leverage and brands bring a crowd and you can leverage brand relationships to drive traffic to your store. And pay to play is like so short-sighted. I would much rather be like, you know what? Don't give me $2,000 for a slotting fee. Invest $2,000 in your marketing spend to drive your audience to my store. That's a long-term investment in my bottom line and my profitability. And it's like there's just a bunch of yahoos out there running and gunning who don't get it and don't think very deeply about these problems. And they'll take $1 today to lose $4 tomorrow.
Exactly. And it's vision. It's long-term vision, JP. And in my existence, I have not been on this earth that long. This is going to be my 44th year here. I can tell you in my experience, thank you. In my experience, most people do not have long-term vision. Most people need whatever they're going to accomplish right now. And if it doesn't, then it didn't work and it's not a part of the future. And I'm someone who I play the longest game possible. Okay. The longest game. It served me really, really well. And it's helped me really see things for what they're worth, not today, but a year from now. If we do now, then we don't have to complain about it in a year from now because we'll already be doing it.
I want to elaborate on that because I've been posting a lot about branding lately, and we're obviously talking a lot about that right now. And, part of that is if you don't have a brand, you have nothing to market, right? So branding is the narrative that you plug into marketing that ultimately drives traffic. But there's another aspect of it. And I like to say like the best marketing invests in your brand. And when I talk about that, I mean, don't spend a bunch of money on weed maps because all you're doing is driving your traffic to a third-party platform and they're capturing that customer information. No, take all that spend, put it into SEO and paid media, drive traffic to your website, which is your brand and what you own. And look, short-term, there's higher ROI on paid media than there is on weed maps anyway. So why anybody's on weed maps is a fucking mystery to me. But
I can tell you, I can tell you, JP, they're there because it's ingrained. So in the automotive space, we have the same thing. You ever heard the name Auto Trader, JP?
Yeah, Auto Trader.
Okay? Yeah. Dealers spend fucking thousands of dollars a month to be on, and I mean thousands of dollars. The average car dealer spends $30K a month on advertising.
Hey.
Okay? They're spending not with Auto Trader, but with that. So they do that, this third party. I've been saying the same thing now going on 2 decades. Why are we doing this? Why don't we make our brand? And now with social media, like I didn't work in dealerships when social media was as big as it is now. I've been out for 12 years now in my own company. But when I did, man, if we had social, like you have such avenues and everyone complains about the cannabis brands can't get there and all these other things. LinkedIn is one of the safest places for cannabis. And I see some people crush it on there with their brands. And I see other people just flounder. And I think it comes through to execution and long-term vision, JP.
Well, also, do you have messaging? I mean, look, man, messaging. If you have a great story and you have a great message, the copy writes itself. But let me walk it back for a second to brand equity.
Okay.
So I say the best marketing invests in your brand. And, people want return today. But when you continue to spend money on brand development, and when you continue to spend money pushing people to the channels you own, what you're doing is you're growing brand equity, right? And here's the thing. Here's what a lot of people don't get about weed. Everybody thinks it's about licensing and infrastructure and whether you're making money today. And the arrival of hemp and hemp beverage brands has created a bit of a national market. And maybe what I'm about to say is changing a bit. But when I look at the playing field, I see we're the only multi-billion-dollar industry without a single nationally recognized brand. There is no Coca-Cola. There is no Kleenex. There is no Chevrolet, right? That is a billion-dollar opportunity.
Yeah.
And guess what? It's about brand. Right? Yeah, you have to have a great product. And when I harp on brand, it doesn't mean I'm saying you don't need a great product. And a lot of people get confused about that. And a lot of people light me up on LinkedIn. They're like, oh no, you just have to grow the fire. And I'm like, how about you grow the fire and you have a brand?
Right, because it goes back to brand delivery. It goes back to the whole thing. You can't just say you're great at something, then I show up and you suck at it, because then I'm not interested.
Or it doesn't matter. You know, I have all these people that talk about how the fire sells itself. And I'm like, really? Does it? What do you call it? Where does it sit on the shelf? How do people talk about it? The fire absolutely doesn't sell itself. And by the way, even if it did, create a drug or not, create a brand, market the shit out of it, and you're just going to sell that much more. There's just never a good reason. Yeah,
dude, the problem with the fire on LinkedIn is I see the fire inside of the garden. No one tells me when they pull the fire from the garden or where they put it. So again, this idea that people buy weed based on weed porn they saw on LinkedIn is a falsity, because most people don't know where to find it.
When you think about what we're talking about, man. And think about like how small that market actually is. It's like, okay, I get it. If you're growing weed in your garage and you know 20 people and they're all waiting for your fire, yeah, you can put it in a turkey bag because they know your name. You're Bob. This is Bob's Fire Weed, and it's all good. Yeah. But when you're trying to build like a, statewide distribution network in California, and you think you don't need a brand name and you don't need to market it, and that way you're just going to put some like white jar on the shelf and everybody's going to know that it's Bob's Fire. It's like, what do you clearly you're a garage grower who doesn't understand retail at all.
Right.
You don't know, and you don't know that you don't know. And that's okay. I'm going to be gentle with you and try to teach you. But a lot of times when I do that, then they get angry and they start, flame wars and calling me names on LinkedIn. And then it's like block and move on, That's not going to do it. Like, if you're dumb, I don't have time for you. I'm sorry.
I know, dude. And speaking of time, man, you've been so gracious with your time today, man. I really, really appreciate it. I love a good block button, by the way. Let's close it out this way, JP. What do you want to leave folks with? We've talked about a lot. What is JP's final thought on today's discussion that he wants people to know?
Brand is the foundation of everything. And it doesn't mean you don't have to be amazing. You need to be amazing at everything you do, but you need to build a brand that talks about that in a way that people connect with, or you don't have anything. If you don't have a brand, you have nothing to market. If you have nothing to market, you will not succeed in this industry, period, full stop. There are no exceptions. And so I would really like to see people have a willingness to talk about brand and to talk about brand story. I know it's scary. I know a lot of people don't understand it. I can help. I'm here. Hit me up.
Man, this was unbelievable, JP. This has gone even better than I could have imagined, dude. You are an incredible story. At first, I thought your background was fake, and then I remember where you live, and it's not a fake background. It is real life, and it is so cool, man. JP, I'm so happy for you. You are absolutely living your best life, and you're doing it, being happy doing it, and I think that makes all the difference, man. So thank you so much for sharing your journey with us. It has been incredible to hear.
I just want to say thank you. I've enjoyed our interaction on LinkedIn, and I really appreciate you inviting me to share my story. And I want to say thanks again too to Dustin and Fat Nugs. I have so much respect for him and what they do, and I'm so glad they're sponsoring you. And you guys have found that synergy. Two great brands working together, raising everyone up. So much love and much gratitude.
Man, this guy, Dustin, he just took the live read right out of my mouth, pal. I mean, look, I'm going to do it because you're the man and we love what you do. But honestly, folks, if you have a small mom and pop shop, if you're a small kind of startup in this business, you won't find a better place to get your voice seen and heard on a regular basis with people who actually give a shit about you, your business, and this industry. Dustin has had a chance to be in big box retailers, to take his magazine to the next level, and he refuses to do so because he wants to keep it about this community and about that people. But folks, he ain't the Red Cross. He can't be doing this shit for free. Let's get out. Let's support. Let's be a part of the message. All right. Thank you all so much. JP, you're great. As always, remember, remove the stigma, uplift the plant. Have yourselves a great week.